Psychology and spirituality both study the individual mind. And because of this shared focus, over the years, a lot of terminology from the psychiatric sciences has kind of osmosed over into spiritual conversation. So you'll have somebody like me standing at their podium lecturing on codependency or trauma, like they knew more about that stuff than the people sitting in the audience. And organizations that teach what I'm teaching you in these videos will often hold seminars with titles like Confront Your Codependency and Stop Procrastinating Now. And these seminars will not refer even obliquely to the infinite being whose nature this organization purports to teach. Now, what's wrong with confronting your codependency or stopping procrastinating? Well, there's nothing wrong with it. You should confront your codependency and you need to stop procrastinating. But there is something very wrong with confusing psychology with spirituality. Now, I know there's a lot of psychiatric professionals who believe that spirituality is some kind of psychological function. Those people are wrong. Psychology studies the mind's interaction with its environment and with itself. Spirituality studies the mind's interaction with the infinite ocean of being. Two very different fields of inquiry that produce very different results. Now, because of this blurring of the lines between one discipline and another, there has over the years evolved this sort of hybrid form of spiritual practice in which people try to evolve spiritually by changing their personalities. I have two objections to this. One is it doesn't work, and the other is it makes you really annoying. Over time, there has been this kind of identikit that has evolved for spiritual people, and it's a real downer. In my book, God, a User's Manual, I call it the generic spiritual personality, or hereinafter, the GSP. Now, spiritual people, we are told, are soft-spoken. They never judge anything. Oh, no. Judging is bad. And they think all spiritual teachings are valid, even spiritual teachings that radically disagree with each other. And by the way, not all spiritual teachings are valid. Some spiritual teachings are made up of complete nonsense and can be dispensed with without harm. Now, you have GSP people in your life. Oh, yes, you do. They're easy to spot. It's that person who sits across from you in the restaurant and says, how can you eat that when you're trying to enjoy a nice hamburger? Now, wait, don't get me wrong. I have people in my life I know and love who are vegetarians, but they're happy vegetarians. They like being vegetarians. They feel good about themselves because they're vegetarians. But they have enough maturity and regard for others to realize that they're living in a world full of people who do not share their values, and that that's going to inconvenience them sometimes. They are willing to be inconvenienced for their values. I respect that, even if I don't share their values. But what I just interrupted myself when I was going to say, the go-to for when somebody does that to you, how can you eat that? This works every time. I promise you it will work for you. You look thoughtful for a second, and then you say, Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian. Did you know that? Shuts them right up. I like happy vegetarians. The vegetarians I cannot tolerate are these passive-aggressive vegetarians who try to make you feel guilty because you're not like them. The underlying assumption being that they're better than you. And on that same vein, if your spiritual values have made you so fragile, so delicate, that you just can't abide negativity, you need better values. It's supposed to be your inner child, not your inner wimp. Now, all through spiritual history, we have stories of our greatest spiritual lives getting to a point where they just could not deal with it anymore. The most famous of them is Jesus. When he went into the temple and found moneylenders there, he didn't pull them all into a corner and help them get in touch with their feelings. He drove them out with a whip. He got so mad, he picked up a weapon and started attacking people with it. And later on, he loses it all over his disciples. He says, "Oh, faithless and perverse generation, how long must I endure you?" He raised the riot act of the Pharisees. He hated the Pharisees. Now, one of my favorites is Saint Teresa of Avila. She was this way mystical Roman Catholic nun back in the old days, 16th century, I think. I may be wrong about that. But she wrote her autobiography, which I've read. It's widely available. And in it, she talks about all these really amazing spiritual experiences she had. Now, she couches it all in Christian terminology, which I find annoying, but you can see past that to what's going on, and it's really extraordinary. And the story is that she was traveling from one city to another in Spain one day, and her carriage's axle broke. And, Spain in the old days, they didn't have AAA, so if your axle broke, you had to sit by the side of the road and wait to see if somebody would come along and help you with your broken axle. And it's said that she stood by the side of the road and shook her fist at the sky and said, "No wonder you don't have any friends if this is how you treat them." So it is a mystery to me where everybody got the idea that really spiritual people act like Smurfs. I have been a dogged pursuer of spiritual truth for almost 50 years now. I guess I'm what some people would call a really spiritual person. And I eat red meat, and I drink alcohol, and I cuss like a stevedore. And I never turn down an attractive sex partner. And I can engage in all of these activities serene in the knowledge that my relationship with God is completely unaffected by any of it. Because your power isn't in your actions, your power isn't in your personality, your power is in your beliefs. What you believe is where everything happens. Now, I have been going over some of my earlier videos, and it occurs to me with all of my talk about, God doesn't care, and you can't make God angry, you can't hurt God's feelings, and do what you want, free will. I may have given you the impression that there's no such thing as right and wrong. You can just go do all the damage you want out there. God doesn't care. No. In the next video, I'm going to explain to you what good and evil really are and how they operate in this universe. It's not what you're thinking.